My husband, Mark, didn't just break our marriage vows, he fundamentally damaged my health by passing on a serious STD he contracted during his affair. When I confronted him, he didn't apologize, he tried to silence me, threatening to destroy my career and reputation if I exposed his cheating. He thought his corporate power made him untouchable. Instead of quietly getting treatment and moving on, I decided I couldn't let him walk away from the physical harm he inflicted. I filed a police report for reckless endangerment, potentially ending his high-profile career and exposing him to criminal charges. AITA for turning my divorce into a criminal investigation? Mark and I were, by all outside metrics, the perfect power couple. He was a senior vice president at a prestigious private equity firm, known for his cutthroat negotiation skills and impeccable reputation. I was a successful marketing executive, and we lived a comfortable, high-status life in a beautiful home. Our stability felt absolute, built on shared ambition and, I thought, unwavering trust. Then the symptoms started. Subtle things at first: fatigue, a persistent discomfort I initially dismissed as stress from a demanding project. Over a few weeks, the discomfort sharpened into acute pain. I tried home remedies, rest, and denial, but eventually, the pain became impossible to ignore. I booked an emergency appointment with my gynecologist, Dr. Chin, a woman I trusted implicitly. The appointment was a blur of procedures, hushed questions, and a growing dread that settled deep in my chest. Dr. Chen returned with the results, her face serious. She delivered the diagnosis: a serious, chronic sexually transmitted disease, one that required long-term management, painful, invasive initial treatment, and carried the risk of significant future complications to my reproductive health. The doctor was clinically precise, but the message was a sledgehammer. I had been exposed to this disease recently, and given my marital status and fidelity, the source was undeniable. I walked out of that clinic feeling not just physically ill, but violently violated. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was a physical invasion of my body, resulting in tangible harm. When I got home, I didn't cry. I felt a cold, hard rage. I confronted Mark immediately. I didn't ask, I stated the diagnosis and the unavoidable conclusion. Mark, ever the strategist, skipped the denial phase and went straight to mitigation. He confessed instantly, tearfully, to a brief affair during a recent conference trip. He swore it was a one-time mistake, a lapse in judgment. He tried to minimize the STD, saying, "It's just a virus, we'll get treatment, and we can move past this. Don't let this ruin everything we've built." His immediate concern wasn't my health, but the integrity of his facade. I was forced to endure weeks of painful, localized treatment, knowing my husband's recklessness had inflicted this upon me. I filed for divorce immediately. Mark's initial reaction was cooperative, clearly hoping to keep the affair quiet and the divorce swift. But when my lawyer, Sarah, detailed the financial demands reflective of the emotional distress and medical damage, Mark's true nature resurfaced. His concern shifted from fear of a public shaming to active, calculated malice. He demanded a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, that was ludicrously restrictive, essentially forbidding me from ever mentioning the affair or the STD to anyone, including family or close friends. When I refused, the threats began. Mark had deep connections in the corporate world. He called me, his voice low and dangerous, and said, "If you tell anyone about the affair, or if you even hint at the reason for your medical treatments, I will use every connection I have. I will leak information to the industry that you are having a mental breakdown, that you are unstable, and that your judgment is compromised. Your career depends on your reputation, Emily. You lose more than I do if this becomes public." That was the turning point. His attempt to blackmail me into silence to protect his career meant he was not remorseful, he was criminally negligent and now actively attempting to coerce me. He had weaponized the damage he inflicted. My lawyer, Sarah, confirmed my instincts. In our state, this isn't just infidelity. Depending on the nature of the disease and whether he knew or reasonably should have known he was infected, this could cross the line into criminal reckless endangerment or even a form of assault. Sarah emphasized the distinction. Criminal charges were not part of the divorce settlement, they were a separate legal avenue pursued by the state. My reporting it would simply initiate the police investigation. I spent the next 2 weeks meticulously gathering the necessary proof. The criminal case hinged on 2 key elements: proof of harm, my diagnosis, and proof of reckless behavior, his decision to engage in unprotected sex outside the marriage and his attempt to conceal the resulting infection. I worked with Dr. Chen to secure clinical documentation that established a clear timeline, my prior negative test results, from a routine checkup months before the affair, and the precise dating of my positive diagnosis, which aligned perfectly with Mark's conference trip. Crucially, I saved all of Mark's threatening emails and voicemails where he blackmailed me with career destruction if I revealed the reason for my illness. These proved his knowledge of the severity of the situation and his intention to hide the health risk he imposed. This was the final piece of the legal puzzle. He was prioritizing his corporate image over my physical safety and attempting to intimidate me into remaining silent about a potential crime. I did not sign the restrictive NDA. Instead, I calmly walked into the local police precinct and filed a detailed report, presenting the clinical evidence and the saved communications. I focused not on the cheating, but on the physical harm and reckless disregard for health. Because of Mark's high-profile status, the investigation moved swiftly. Within 48 hours, the police contacted his company, and Mark was called in for questioning. The mere investigation was enough to detonate his immaculate corporate image. The firm, famous for ruthless adherence to compliance, placed him on immediate, unpaid leave, citing an ongoing, serious personal matter that compromises his public trust and fiduciary responsibility. The news, though contained to business circles at first, spread like wildfire. The divorce case, which Mark wanted to be quiet, was now overshadowed by a potential criminal charge. His former colleagues, already wary of his aggressive behavior, quickly distanced themselves. He went from being a powerful SVP to an outcast facing a possible misdemeanor charge and the complete obliteration of his professional life, a consequence far more severe than any divorce settlement. The community is split. My friends and family see this as a necessary act of self-defense and justice. Mark's allies, however, are furious, claiming I am using the criminal justice system as a weapon for revenge, and that turning a private matter into a public prosecution is unforgivable, regardless of the cheating. They say I'm a vengeful woman who chose to destroy a man's career simply because I was hurt. I am physically healing, I have my freedom, and the threats have stopped. But I engineered his downfall, meticulously and legally. AITA for reporting my cheating husband to the police for reckless endangerment to secure my health and safety, knowing it would destroy his high-profile career?